So today we have a 2013 Nissan Frontier. I just finished changing the thermostat, and more or less it's not blowing very good heat. The temperature controls are dual zone AC. It's set at 23 degrees and there's cool air coming out of the vents. It's about 75 degrees. Actually no, that was the radio display. About 57 degrees Fahrenheit, 65 degrees Fahrenheit coming out of that vent. Now, let's have a look at the heater hoses. I just took this for a road test. So there's the two heater hoses. And the inlet's 190 and the outlet's roughly 185. So it's circulating through the heater properly. It's kind of like the heater controls aren't working properly. I noticed that if I turn it right up to 32, it'll begin blowing hot air. So you can see the temperature rising now, 82, 83. But I would expect it to blow some heat. You know, if I even turn it down to 30 degrees Celsius, it starts to cool off again. 88, 90, 91, 92. But even at 28 degrees with the windows open, or 24 degrees with the windows open outside, and it's roughly 2 degrees Celsius today, don't seem to get much heat out of the heater vents. So I'm going to scan it and see if there's any issues with the temperature control door, see if there's any codes in the HVAC system. So this is a new vehicle record. I've never scanned it before. I might have to do this key on engine off, but it usually says so. Do a network code scan and see if there's any codes in any of the controllers. I never had the battery disconnected while I did the thermostat. We'll pick up when we get through this network scan. So we're going to do a network code scan, and it's a pre-scan, and it doesn't appear to need the key on engine off, so it is running right now. That's awful slow. Well, again, we'll pick up when we get to the end of this network scan. So here is the list of the codes that were reported. Low tire pressure in the BCM. No signal from one left rear sensor in history. Some issues with the iPod certification. That's the radio display temperature too high, supplied voltage low, and tire pressure sensors. That's basically it. Nothing in the HVAC. But we're going to go in the HVAC module and have a look at, just one more time, scan it for codes. Sometimes it doesn't pick it up on the network scan, but it doesn't report any codes. Let's have a look at data and see if there's anything off with the in-car temperature sensor. Ambient temperature sensor says 26 degrees Fahrenheit. In-car temperature sensor says 92 Fahrenheit. I don't think it's 92 in the vehicle. So that could account for why it's blowing cold air. If that in-car temp sensor is reading hotter than 90, I'm sure it's not 92 inside the vehicle. Evaporator temperature 107. Auxiliary temperature set point. Don't know what that means. Passenger side mixed feedback, driver side mixed feedback. So this is the actual temperature doors. Usually one's high voltage and one low voltage because they're on the top and bottom of the heater case. I wonder if there's any bidirectional control to do a relearn on the temp doors. Doesn't look like it. So I'm going to do a network code clear. and then I'm going to do some research and see if there's a procedure to do a relearn on the temp door. So I got to do this key on, engine off. Wow, this network code clear is painfully slow. So I opened the hood and put a battery charger on it while it's doing it. So it cleared codes out of 10 controllers. I did look on Identifix for case histories of poor heat, and there was some dual zone stuff, but this appears to affect both sides equally. I don't see a relearn procedure. I haven't looked to see if there's an example of that. I'm going to try operating that's driver's side mix feedback, passenger side mix feedback. I'm assuming that that is the temperature door. So I'm going to go and operate the temperature hot to cold. Well, that's at 16 and nothing really changed on the dash. And that's at 32. I can hear the doors changing. That's at 32 degrees Celsius, 31, 28, 25, 'seems like it's gone all the way to cold already. That's 16 Celsius. Back to 32. 30, 31. So it seems like it only blows heat if it's on max heat, because right here I've got the temperature control set to max heat, 32 degrees Celsius, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. And then as soon as I turn it down a couple of degrees, like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, it dives right back down to what would appear to be full cold. Although this one has gone down to full cold, but this one is still hot. Let me turn that down a bit more. Oh, wait a second. No. No. Yeah, it did go. So here's, so this is full cold on the driver's side. This is full cold on the passenger side. They're like a mirror image of each other. But for some reason, there's no in between. It's either max cold or max hot. Yet there's no fault codes. Ambient temperature sensor is 26 Fahrenheit. That might be under the hood, ambient. But in car temperature is 95 Fahrenheit. I'm going to take it outside and see what it reads outside with the cab cooled off. I think before I take it outside, I'm going to try and do a relearn. Most vehicles will do a relearn on the doors after a battery disconnect. So I'm going to disconnect the battery. I see it's got a fairly new battery in there. So it's possible that if the battery was connected and disconnected, and maybe if the key was on during that time, it could have mislearned the positions of the doors. But nevertheless, we're going to disconnect the battery. I might clean the battery cables while I have them off. So as you can see, the battery is fairly new, but whoever put it in didn't really clean the cables. So we're going to clean up the cables, and in the meantime, while the battery's disconnected, it's going to hopefully clear any learned memory from the temp doors. So that didn't seem to make any difference. Right here where the cursor is 32 Celsius, which is maximum hot. If I turn it to 31.5 degrees Celsius, it goes to maximum cold. There's nothing in between. So I'm really questioning this in-car temp sensor as being 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It's in the shop here. It's roughly, at the very hottest it could be, would be 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm wondering if it's misadjusting the temp sensor or the temperature in the vehicle because it thinks it's already 90, and of course putting it to max hot overrides it, but at least I think it overrides it. I wonder where that, I'm going to take it outside and see what the temperature reading is outside. So I'm sitting outside here with all 4 windows open in the vehicle. Got the temperature set at 24.5 degrees Celsius, and the in-car temperature says 88.7 degrees Fahrenheit, which is significantly hotter than this. And you can see that the temp doors are at max cold. And if I turn the temperature up, 25, 26, 27, the only thing that changes is the fan speed. So okay, now it went down at 29 now. 28.5. It's going back up. I really believe that this in-car temp sensor is reading significantly hotter than it really is. I wonder where that temp sensor is. So it looks like this HVAC system has a self-diagnostic process or procedure. Press the off switch, press the floor defrost and defrost mode switches together and release on the front air control. Press the reset switch to enter self-diagnostic mode. I was just looking for where this ambient sensor is. So it's not shorted or open. Well, there's no hyperlinks here. Ambient Sensor Diagnostic Procedure. HAC 48. I'll look for it. So I think I found the component location for the HVAC stuff. The ambient sensor is E28. Looks like it's view with grill removed. So must be inside the front grill. It doesn't show a picture of it unless that's 9, item 9. Let's see what item 9 is. No, that's optical sensor. But the in-vehicle sensor is item number 2, M34. Item number 2 looks like it's right down in this area above the driver's left or right foot. It's interesting. Why would they put it down there? Oh well, let's see if we can find that. So this looks like an air intake grill here, right below the steering wheel, and that's where it shows it as having the in-car temp sensor right in that area. I'm going to blow some cold air in there. I've got a choke tester from the 70s, so I can blow some cold air in there and see if I can fool the system. So I'm going to use this choke tester. It's a Kent Moore tool, and when you put shop air on one side, it blows hot air out one side. I believe hot air out this side and cold air out this side. So I'm going to blow cold air on that temp sensor and see if I can get it to change. So that's definitely the temp sensor. I use this choke tester to blow cold air out this side. This is actually frosty, the other end's hot, and I got it down to about 55 degrees. But I'm watching the temp doors. I'm gonna put the temp door in about 25 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius. So I got it down to about 38 degrees Fahrenheit by blowing cold air on that sensor, and I got the temperature set on the dash at 22 Celsius, which is roughly 70 Fahrenheit, I believe. And you can see as it's warming up now, it was blowing good heat out of the vents at that. I want to see if it comes back to normal again. So when I shoot the temperature of that in-car sensor right now, it shows 70 to 72 degrees, and it's showing 70 to 72 degrees, and it's actually working now. That's strange. There's no airflow through that vent. Normally the in-car temp sensor has a little venturi and it pulls air in from inside the cab. You stick a piece of paper over that grill, you'll feel it. I wonder if there's supposed to be a fan in there. I know the GM ones have a little fan that pulls air past the sensor. Otherwise, how's it going to sense the interior temperature properly? So this is what I mean. Normally there's a little fan and you put a piece of paper over there, it would hold it. But there's nothing to encourage the airflow unless there's supposed to be a little fan blower in there. And if I shoot the temperature of this right now, it's calibrating again. It says 78, 79 degrees. It's actually warm inside there, 79 degrees. And yet on the scan tool, it's 78, 79 degrees. And it's blowing heat now. Now you can actually see as the interior of the cab comes up to temperature. I wonder if there's supposed to be a fan inside that little in-car temp sensor. I found the component description for the ambient sensor, which is attached to the radiator core. It is in front of the grill like I thought. But I'm not looking for the in-car temp sensor. I'll see if I can find it. So I found it. The in-vehicle sensor located in the lower instrument panel, left hand, converts variations in temperature of passenger compartment, air drawn in through the integrated fan. Well, there is no fan running in there, into a resistance value. It then uses this input for the front AC. So what's happening is that little fan must have died. Open circuit or shorted circuit would set a fault code, but the fan has got a little electric motor in there. Well, I'm certain that you would check it by putting a piece of paper over that to see if it would hold the paper. I know the GM ones do. We got a chart for resistance versus temperature. They don't mention anything about checking the fan for airflow. But it has to pull the air through there. Now that I've cooled it off, the system is working fine, but I'm certain that once it gets hot, if there's no airflow there, it would take forever to cool off again. Because I put it outside and it dropped from 92 down to 88. And I had all the windows open in the cab of the vehicle, and it was still blowing cold air out of the heater controls. Well, I'm going to discuss this with the customer, but I think that little fan motor inside there has failed. So if I let it run now and I measure the temperature with the non-contact thermometer, it's about 88, which is what it's saying, yet it's in max cold now. You notice the temp door feed, the driver's side mixed feedback is at 4.5 and passenger side is at 0.5. And it's set at 22 Celsius, which is about 70 Fahrenheit. I'm going to blow some cold air on that sensor. Well, you can see that when I cooled it off to 30 degrees, it went to hot again. And of course, putting it in max heat, 32 Celsius, I believe overrides the automatic. Now it's just warming up again. I'm sure that that temp sensor gets warm just because there's current flow through it too, so without a fan to pull air past it, it can't accurately measure the temperature. So I'm going to talk to the customer and see if he wants us to go ahead and replace that. So just so you can see how this choke tester works, it's connected to shop air, and at this end it's putting out 140 degrees, and at this end it's 15 degrees, 8 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a vortex. Hot air on this end, cold air on this end. I bet you haven't seen one of those for a while. So there are two screws holding it behind the dash. You can reach up there. They're T20 screws. That's the little sensor, and it does have a little fan in there. I'm going to plug it in under the dash and confirm it's not actually running. So I'm going to turn the HVAC on now. Focus. So that fan is turning, but not very well. Now it could be working now that it's out of the vehicle. Where's that piece of paper I had? So it is working now. So maybe it just needed to be, I turned it by hand. I'm going to blow the dust out of it. So I blew it out and now it's not working at all. Vehicle's running. So it definitely needs this part. There is a part number stamped on the back. I don't know if that's any good. I've recorded it. That's too bad. There was quite a bit of dust in it, but it needs that.